Oh, wow. Where to start? Um, First of all, silver still rigged. It's under $19. You can't, of course, you can't buy any for under $19. We are at the point where you have to get physical. Nothing else is going to help you. No ETF is going to survive this shit. Um, Not a chance. No mining company's ever going to. No country's ever going to allow a mining company, foreigners, to cash in on the money they have in the ground. Literally, Mexico will pay for the wall, as Trump said. They're going to pay for the wall to keep Americans out of Mexico. Mexico has massive amounts of silver. That's where we are. And I think it happened already, either Friday or Monday. And I'll go through that in a second. Just like back in 2008 when the system crashed, it was on 9/11. And if you guys haven't seen this video, here's a video of this is a short clip of it. Paul Kanjorski talks about, he says, Thursday of last week. This is in 2008. Thursday was September 11th in 2008. Listen to what he says was happening and what would have happened. And you'll get a little taste of what's happening now, except on steroids.
On Thursday at about 11 o'clock in the morning, the Federal Reserve noticed a tremendous drawdown of money market accounts in the United States to the tune of $550 billion was being drawn out in a matter of an hour or two. The Treasury opened up its window to help. They pumped $105 billion in the system and quickly realized that they could not stem the tide. We were having an electronic run on the banks. They decided to close the operation, close down the money accounts, and announce a guarantee of $250,000 per account. So
I love that. Announce a guarantee of 200. They don't have it. They'll just print it out of thin air, but they did it. And this is the billions. We're talking billions. This time we're talking trillions. Listen to what he says happens if this was not done.
So there wouldn't be further panic out there, and that's what actually happened. If they had not done that, their estimation was that by 2 o'clock that afternoon, $5.5 trillion would have been drawn out of the money market system of the United States, would have collapsed the entire economy of the United States, and within 24 hours, the world economy would have collapsed. Now,
did you see how fast that would happen? The economy, the world economy, done in a matter of hours. That's how close we are.
We talked at that time about what would happen if that happened. It would have been the end of our economic system and our political system as we know it.
I love how he adds the end of our economic system and political system. Absolutely. Who do our politicians work for? The banks. If they're not going to pay them off, there's no government left. This is getting ugly.
And that's why when they made the point, we've got to act and do things quickly, we did.
There you go. So that's what is coming. Except it's not going to be in the, 500 billion. Fed added another 100 billion. The market that just broke is the foreign exchange market. Foreign exchange market is huge. It is they estimate $5 trillion per day gets transferred, and they do it in swapped pairs. U.S. dollar for the pound, U.S. dollar for the won, you name it. But that's not the big part of it. 500 trillion, what's another 500 trillion? That's leveraged 100x with derivatives, believe it or not. This is insane. So yes, is having gold and silver in your possession a really important thing? Hell yes. Everything else gone in a blink of an eye, in a matter of hours, just like Kanjorski said. Crypto's getting a bid. Yes, cryptos are going to just explode higher. But first, they're probably going to try to drive it down to zero, as well as gold, as well as silver, everything. They'll drive to like minus $40 or something ridiculous, because these are not real exchanges. This is not the true fair market value of the cryptocurrencies, especially going forward. We're going to see the chaos. It's going to happen. How do you bid on a cryptocurrency if there's no money in the bank? There's no fiat money left. All cryptocurrencies go to zero. because there's no exchanges open. You can't. I mean, this is what's about to happen. That's why it's so important to have your cryptos in your own possession. Have your silver in your own possession. No stocks, no bonds, no ETFs in your own possession. So here's what I think is causing all the, like Ken Jaworski said, this was a week later. Nobody knew what was going on at the time on September 11, 2008. They knew there were problems in the financial system. Nobody knew until like 2 or 3 weeks later, and everybody freaked out at the end of the month because that's the end of the fiscal year of the U.S., and that's when the bailout started. But it actually happened on September 11th. I think the pound got destroyed to pull the plug. And let's take a look at it. A British pound stabilizes, but turmoil still roils the UK economy. The British pound stabilized Tuesday as the UK authorities tries to ease investor concerns after the biggest cut in 50 years sent the currency tumbling to a record low in the previous day. Here's what happened. Now, I don't know about you, but currencies are not supposed to fluctuate like this. Look at it, was a buck 37. Now, these are all relative to other currencies, mind you. Like in the UK, you see it in rising prices, but you don't see it in, oh my God, my pound that I have in my hand is only worth $1.03 now. No, every person in their own, it's like you weren't thinking about this at all. You walk around with your dollar bills, well, for the people in the US, and you use your dollar bills. You don't see the change in value relative to other currencies at all. But at the same time, something is going on. Something big happened. And it has to do with the death of the Queen, has to do with the end of the fiscal year of the U.S., has to do with all the Shemitah and all that stuff that is happening right now. And this isn't the first time the British pound has crashed. Great article here. Not so sterling. The many crashes in the long history of the pound. When the pound breaks a buck, I think that's the end. And I think it will in the next couple weeks. So hang on tight. Sterling on Monday plunged to a record dollar low nearing parity. And since the beginning of floating currencies, and all these floating currency stuff was actually, Paul Volcker invented the floating currencies so that Nixon could go off the gold standard. So since then, floating currency has been judged against each other. Back in the early 70s when this started, the British pound was $2.64 to the US dollar. And then in 76, it fell to $2.44. In 85, it fell all the way down to $1.05. And in 1985, that's right when Alan Greenspan was put as the head of the Fed. As Alan Greenspan in 87 put as head of the Fed, within 2 months, he clicked his mouse and all the computers went crazy, and we had the Black Monday of 1987, the crashing of the stock market. 1992, Black Wednesday crashed. The pound went to $1.50, and then in 2007, right before the 2008, the pound went to $2, and then the flash crash, Brexit flash crash 1.3, and then you had COVID 1.41, and now we have Ukraine or whatever you want to blame it on. Liz Truss is literally on September 26th, a few days after the landmark budget from Finance Minister Kawasi Kadirg, traders sent the pound tumbling to a record nadir against the dollar in a blow for new Prime Minister Liz Truss to $1.03. This isn't over. I think there's a huge trigger that's going on, mainly in the derivative market. So here's what happens in FX trading, foreign exchange trading. It's all done in pairs. So it's the euro versus the dollar. The dollar, it's basically the dollar versus everything. Dollar versus the yen. Look at this. Number 3 on the list is the British pound versus the US dollar. That's 11%. Now they say of currency trades, it's about 5 trillion per day. So 11% of 5 trillion is what, 550 billion? If my math is correct. So 550 billion got this shocker right here. Bang, bang. That is huge because there's winners and losers in this game. There's always winners and losers. And because currencies don't fluctuate all that much, this is a massive move. It triggered all kinds of derivatives. There's so many losers from something like this that is completely unexpected. And let me show you right here. Foreign exchange rate. Foreign exchange is the conversion rate for almost all currencies are constantly floating as they are driven by the market forces of supply and demand. That's bullshit. Here's what they are driven by. Forex derivatives. Of course it's the derivatives. So there's 5 trillion in Forex exchanges every day. There's probably 500 trillion in derivatives playing the game. And you have a move like this, good night. Good night, Alice. Thanks to the unmatched, I love how they brag about this shit. Thanks to the unmatched liquidity and competition in the Forex market, trading currencies also allows a trader to take advantage of a number of other instruments, which use currencies as the underlying asset. It's kind of like silver. Well, thanks to the comics, we can do futures and options and swaps and blah, 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 blah. This is the destroyer. Derivatives are the destroyer. Active trading in many of these derivatives has further enhanced, they call it enhancing, the status of currencies as one of the most actively traded assets. Most of the more unusual derivatives, especially the exotic options and interest rate products, currently trade primarily in over-the-counter OTC Forex market between major banks and their corporate and institutional clients. Types of Forex derivatives. Currency futures, currency options, both vanilla and exotics, currency exchange traded funds or ETFs, Forex contracts for difference or CFDs, forwards, currency interest rate spreads, spot trades. My favorite is exotics. You could do a Forex linked silver contract, Bank of America and JP Morgan with a fixed back end. And it would be reported on the OCC data that you're going to have to hide like they did. This is insane. So something like this out of the blue, there's some major losers, and the losers aren't seen for a couple weeks. And all of a sudden, oh my God, what happened to Deutsche Bank? Deutsche Bank's one of the largest FX traders because they're one of the most criminal. What about Virtu Financial? I wonder if they were playing in FX. Of course they were. Virtu Financial, run by Vinny Viola, and runs a lot of the gold and silver rig job for BlackRock, of course. You want to know about BlackRock? Check out this guy. Love talking about this guy, Evie Hambro. This is the guy running it for BlackRock, the gold and silver. Yeah, his dad owned one of the largest gold mines in the world. Keep an eye on this dude, and his boss, his old boss, was this guy, Peter Fisher. These are riggers. These are lifetime riggers. Yeah, you can't even see it right now. So that's where we are. I think behind the scenes, the shit has broken. It's like in September 11th, 2008, behind the scenes, after that, it was broken. It wasn't until late September, early October that they're like, oh my God, we're panicking. Keep an eye on this. This hurricane is going to hit the last day, fiscal year, of the U.S. Treasury. If it goes right up Tampa Bay, good night. Good night. All right, the other big, as if they needed more, blast detected near Nord Stream as images reveal huge leak. It was blown up. I don't know who blew it up. Probably the bad guys. Could have been Putin. Could have been anybody. I don't think Putin would, because he could just shut it off. The Nord Stream pipeline system, there's 3 leaks. Somebody blew it up. Deep state who want to destroy Europe, probably. So yeah, if you're in Europe, get the hell out. You're going to have no power, no way to warm yourself this winter. Get out. I know, it's leaving your home. I know, leave everything behind, but get out. But where do you go? There is no place to go. That's the problem. But I would go to warmer weather. Go south. I heard a lot of people from Europe have been going to South America, like way down near Argentina. Who knows? The only problem with silver is it's not very mobile. But hey, I have no idea. I have no idea what your plans are and how much silver you have. But now is the time just to hunker down if you can. If you're in the right place, which nobody knows where that right place is. I'm sitting on top of a freaking fault. in California. I would not put it by them that they set off an earthquake in California just when this hurricane hits in Florida and all the shit falls apart. Imagine the amount of money that's going to be created because of all these natural disasters. Again, just more reasons to buy silver. So oil surges after Russia proposes a 1 million barrel OPEC cut. Putin holds all the cards when it comes to oil in Europe. So Europe, blah, 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 they're talking shit. And Putin's like, talk all you want. I'll just cut you off, period. So, yeah. And we all know Saudi Arabia, the guy in charge of oil of Saudi Arabia came out and said, this price is wrong. These assholes in the derivative market are rigging it, meaning the West, meaning the cabal, the Working Group on Financial Markets. Janet Yellen has no idea that everybody knows how this game works. And by the way, Jerome Powell, the reason he is where he is right now is to bail out the derivative book. Jerome Powell was in charge of the derivative book of Bankers Trust back in the 90s when everybody freaked out because that was going to take everybody down. So they took the Bankers Trust derivative book and sent it to Deutsche Bank in the late 90s. And that was Jerome Powell was in charge of that. That's why they put him as the head of the Fed, because he's got to deal with this derivative nightmare. $2 quadrillion nightmare. It's crazy. It's crazy out there. There's nowhere to hide. All you can do is hang on to your assets. Keep them in your own possession. Hang on. Open up your lawn chair. Sit on the sidelines and watch this game unfold. Food, water, all that stuff. Load up if you can, if you have any pennies left. My guess is 2 or 3 weeks of expecting to live off what you got. And we all know, as people are finding out in Florida right now, instantly things go off the shelves. So have what you need now. This is Bix Ware. I'll talk to you later.